and it's not going to be easy. That's the misconception, is getting into ownership. Hey, everybody does it, I can do it too. And I do want that to be the message today, is like, look, like ownership is the way. And I know you and I both believe in it. Yeah. But don't think for a freaking second that it's gonna be easy. Owning a business is gritty, it's hard, it's stressful, especially in the first couple years.
If you're listening, you're an optometrist, you're an ophthalmologist, you're, veterinarian, chiropractor, doesn't matter, right? If you want to get to financial independence, you've got to own your own business.
Working backwards on how much money you want to make can literally translate to how much space that you rent, and can literally translate into how many ops. It literally translates.
You just have to grind it out, and you have to work hard, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to push through it and realize that it's okay to start slow, and then you'll get there.
My message to you is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because doing a startup and doing an acquisition, ownership, is very uncomfortable.
Hello and welcome back to Ali Off the Record. I'm your host, Ali Oromchian, and I've got a super exciting episode lined up for you today. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. Joining me is someone who's truly made a mark in the dental work, Michael Dinsio of Next Level Consultants. Michael began his career as a lender, but discovered his real passion was to help doctors navigate the often complex journey of practice ownership. That passion led him to start Next Level Consultants, where he now works with clients across the country, whether they're launching their first practice, expanding, sustaining growth, or preparing to sell. Michael has partnered with over 500 dentists throughout his career and brings unmatched insight as both a trusted advisor and a strategic guide. He's all about helping doctors reach their greatest potential, and I'm thrilled to have him on the show. So we're going to dive into the world of dental startups and the path to practice ownership. It's a really dynamic conversation where he shares his real life experience about how to do your vision and how to really sustain yourself through the complex and stressful experience that it is doing a startup, and the insights that he provides are just absolute gold. So whether you're dreaming about your first practice or already planning to launch your first, this one's for you. Look forward to seeing you guys on it. Hey Michael, great to have you here today. We go back a lot of years. I think it's been probably 15 years or so when I first met you at the Black Hawk Grill with our longtime and good friend, Brad Beck. So How you doing?
Dude, it's been a long journey. When I first met you, they said, oh, you got to meet Ali. He's the big dog in the Bay Area. And I'm like, well, I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. And you didn't disappoint. So
you didn't even know where the Bay Area was.
Yeah, exactly. They said to fly into Oakland. I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, really. You want to fly into Oakland?
Well, I want to talk about your journey a little bit before we really jump into the Q&A, because I want the audience to really know your background, because it's a very unique background. I mean, I know you started in lending, and you went into consulting, and now you're helping hundreds and hundreds of dentists with their startups and with consulting. I really want to talk about your startups, but I mean, tell me about your journey. Like, what got you here? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, man, and congrats on the program. It's already looking world class. So, I feel like I need to step up my game now on my podcast. But
you're my motivation. You're the reason I'm doing this. So
you just had to 10x me is what you had to do, and so
I don't know about that.
Anyway, so thanks for having me on the program. So the journey. So I went to college, went to the Ohio State University. I love me some Buckeyes. I mean, coming off of a national championship, so I had to drop that. for all you haters out there. And so went to Ohio
We
State
just
for
lost
business.
Michigan, by the way. We just lost the state of Michigan. They
Yeah.
all just unsubscribed to the
Yeah,
podcast.
that's fine. That's fine. I have so many Michigan dentist doctor clients, and that's immediately what this isn't going to work. But so went to Ohio State for business school, excellent business school, had a great time. Got into went right into marketing. I don't know if you knew that before B of A,
No.
because you and I go back. We go back, just to B of A. But before B of A, I worked for a marketing firm. We did that for 6 years. It was pretty successful in the marketing realm. Got a marketing degree. So marketing's totally my jam, which plays into the startup stuff. But then kind of got burned out on that. Went to B of A, Bank of America Lending Group, and that's where we met. Of course, financed lots of people, millions of dollars, all that good stuff, and really learned the business of dentistry. Pivoted from B of A to another consulting firm. Fell in love with consulting then, but it just wasn't a good fit. And then started my own kind of group, and that's kind of what got me here today. But when I started Next Level with Paula, my partner, we felt like there was a hole in the market where a lot of doctors just needed a lot of support before they got into ownership that quite frankly, I just didn't feel like there was enough help. I mean, I would get a lot of questions as a lender that honestly I shouldn't have even been answering as the lender. As a lender, you should be coming to me and telling me what your business plan is and why you should buy and why I should give you the money. And instead, the doctors were coming to me saying, should I buy this? What's the value? Is this a good idea? And it's like, dude, that's not my job as your lender.
Right.
As your lender, I should just be saying, you think about it, Ali, and this should be like the preface of the program today is like old school lenders, you'd have to wear like a tie and like impress a lender to impart their money. So like you had to impress them, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's not what happens with the folks probably listening to this. They go and they're like, hey, should I do this? To the lender.
Well, what I think you're raising, though, is actually a fundamental problem that we see in the industry, right? I think what has made you so successful and what's unique about you, and I think, quite honestly, what's unique about us, is that you were never just a lender. You were never just a consultant, right? Or for us, we're not just lawyers. We're helping them, holding their hand through the process, which I think is a big part of this because, when you're doing a startup, half of it is just the confidence of knowing that you're going to be successful and that it's going to be okay, but you need professionals to help you. That's why I think when you were a lender, they were asking you, well, what do you think I should do? Whereas now, and I bet this is part of what attracted you to doing these startups is this desire to really help them get to that place, and you do it really, really well, which is awesome. But let's jump into that a little bit because, as the audience is listening to this, a lot of people, are in that place where they're debating: do I do a startup? Do I do a transition and whatnot? But tell me, what is one misconception that you kind of keep hearing from younger doctors who are about to start their career as entrepreneurs? When they decide to start a practice from scratch? Like, what is that one misconception about doing a startup that you are like, I hear all the time?
It goes for acquisitions and startups.
Okay.
Even though they're totally different, doctors are online listening to your podcast, listening to my podcast, on Dental Town, reading books, going to seminars and talking to their buddies, and it's all the, yes, this, you need to do it too. This is going to be easy, and it's not going to be easy. That's the misconception, is getting into ownership. Hey, everybody does it. I can do it too. And I do want that to be the message today, is like, look, like ownership is the way. And I know you and I both believe in it.
Yeah.
But don't think for a freaking second that it's going to be easy. Owning a business is gritty, it's hard, it's stressful, especially in the first couple years. The payout is huge once you get past that. But don't think day one, it's going to be easy, which is why you need help from people like me and you.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. We know that it's the only path to financial independence as a dentist, right? Is to get to, to become a practice owner. I mean, to get to the financial independence, you need to. And by the way, this isn't just true for dentists. It's really true for all doctors. If you're listening, you're an optometrist, you're an ophthalmologist, you're veterinarian, chiropractor. Doesn't matter, right? If you want to get to financial independence, you got to own your own business. When you start to think about the student loans you've got and everything else, but you're right, it's not easy. It's not rocket science, but it's not easy to get started. And once you get started, you start to get into flow. So let's get into that, because I know we're scratching the surface into it, but I want to get to the nitty gritty of it. So when you're talking to someone doing a startup, right, what is the biggest mistake you see that they make early in the process before, they start using you, or maybe, you may be very much like me, where something has already happened and then they call you, right?
100%.
So let's go through that. Like, tell me the details of that.
Yeah, I would say one of the first mistake most doctors make in a startup is, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully here because it's going to sound consulting.
Yeah.
Like a consultant would say this.
Sure.
And it's not going to surprise you, but the plan and the path they're going down does not match the vision that they have, or they haven't even thought of their vision and they're just going down the path.
Okay, so double click on that. So what do you think their vision is, and what's the path that they're going down? Like, give us examples.
Half the time they don't even have a vision for what they're trying to do.
Oh, well.
I'll give you an example. Just literally yesterday, and very practical. I'm coaching a client, and he's picking out locations. And he's a little bougie, I can tell, right? He wants his practice to be very nice, beautiful looking, kind of have that high impact type practice. And he's interviewing an architect that we all know in the industry, and they're big dollars. Like they're big dollars, and the established practices that do second or third locations who have successful practices hire these architects.
Right.
Okay. So he's like, I really like their website. Oh my gosh, I got to have them on the team. I said, I think they're amazing. They're freaking amazing. I don't know if you have the budget for it, but let's just assume we do.
Sure.
But B, we're going into a Medicaid area. Do you know that? And he goes, yeah, I know. I said, what do you think the moms and dads of Medicaid are going to think of a bougie practice? He goes, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, exactly. Have you spent enough time developing your business plan, developing your vision? Then we choose this location, and we both agreed that this is going to be an amazing spot, and it's going to be high demand. Everybody's going to come to you because it's like a 7,000 to 1 ratio. He's going to crush it, and he's choosing to take Medicaid, and we're talking about a bougie practice. Yeah. So perfect example of like being totally disconnected with what you're trying to do and what your equipment rep, your architect, your space planner, your contractor are all taking you down this path, and no one's asking you, well, what's your vision? What kind of business are you trying to create? They're just taking you down this path. Is anybody asking the question of what kind of patients we're trying to get, or what kind of dentist we want to be?
See, Mike, this is one of the reasons why I love it when you work with our clients on these startups, because you're asking the tough questions and you're pushing the buttons of some people, because you're right. The contractor's like, I want the bougie practice, right? The equipment specialist is, yes, let's go with, these, chairs and let's, fill every operatory that we can with everything possible, but it's not necessarily the right fit. And, but when you talk about vision, right, it's so murky, right? Touchy-feely, that a lot of people are like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't even know where to start. Let me AI it. Let me open, Chat GPT what my vision is, Yeah.
Can we get Kanal to put that up on the screen, like Chat GPT, what is vision?
Yeah,
Like,
what is vision? Exactly.
what is it? Can we just say, like, can we just make it really simple right now what vision is?
Yeah, let's go through it. Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, like in my mind, it's like, what are you what are you trying to create? Well, we're not talking about mission statement. We're not trying to be so subjective. We're talking. Let's make vision very tactical, very obvious. What kind of patients you want, what kind of sales you want to do, how big you want make your practice, which should translate to how much money you need to make and want to make.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, the bigger the office, the bigger the practice needs to be, the more money you could make.
Yeah.
Right? Not all my clients want or need to make $500,000. Right. Not all my clients want to even make $300,000. Some of my clients are fine with $200,000 working 3 days a week.
And you're talking about net income. You're not talking about
net
gross.
That's what they take home. Yeah. That's what they take home.
Yeah. Yeah, I want everyone to let's clarify this. We all want you to gross at least $500,000. Okay, that's the average around the country. So we want you to do way more than that. But yes,
but I just think that everybody needs to think about what they want because they get on podcasts or they listen to podcasts. You know, I'll beat up one of them out there. Actually, I won't. I'll keep it chill.
Let's
but there is some consultants and there are some podcasts out there that say go big, go home because the DSOs are going to buy you. Blah 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 blah. And the reality is all these startups out there are chasing kind of that multi-practice, multi-associate kind of big behemoth. And Ali, you're in that space. And I know that is a world you live in, but 90% of you folks that are listening are not going to do that and do it successfully. And it is okay to have one practice throwing off a lot of cash that might be 6 ops max.
Yeah.
Working 3 days is fine. I have a startup that we helped 3 years ago. He hit 1.5 and he's still on the next level plan of 3 days open. Yeah, he's only open 3 days.
That's incredible.
And he's doing 1.5. He's making a lot of money working 3 days.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I'll tell you, I had a client a few years ago. She was a mom of 3.
Yeah.
And her husband worked, and she was a very successful specialist. And I brought up the topic of multi-locations to her because she was getting squeezed out of her office, And she said something to me that has really resonated. She said, I have so much opportunity at this one location still. And she was doing like over 2 million already, right? She's like, I have so much opportunity at just this one office. I don't need to go open up multiple offices, nor do I want to. She worked 3 days a week. She was a great mom, and spent time with the kids. She did all the things she needed to do. And she ended up dropping Delta and kind of doing that whole thing, going insurance independent. So, and now she's doing even better than she was before. She's even more profitable. Like, there's all these things. So to your point, there's a lot of different types of practices out there, but you need the vision. So give some, let's do this, because I think people are going to say, well, how do I come up with it?
Yeah.
Can you come up, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you come up with like 3 questions that a doctor should ask themselves as they sit there to try to draw up the first draft of their vision?
Okay. I love the question. Wasn't prepared for it, but the question is good, and I think I already said it. I think we get into business to make money. We talked about building wealth and becoming financially independent, right?
Yep.
So I know in dentistry it's helping the community and taking care of people's health and all. That's obviously very important, and it's got to be a passion of yours. But I think making money also makes a lot of sense too, especially if you're going to go into business for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is, how much money do you want to make?
Yeah.
Because for me, you easily waterfall that backwards, and you can create a very simple business that's not hard to manage.
Yeah.
Because the bigger, and Ali, we talk about scaling all the time in our businesses.
Yep.
Scaling is hard. Scaling is also hard in dentistry.
Yep.
It's easier than our business is, but
100%.
it's still hard.
Yeah.
Employing people, managing other dentists. Are you kidding me? Hard.
Yeah.
All HR, which you guys hit, is, I mean, so working backwards on how much money you want to make can literally translate to how much space that you rent, and can literally translate into how many ops. It literally translates. So the very first thing.
The first question is, how much money do you want to take home every year? Like, what is the goal there? I love that. Because you're right. You can work backwards on a lot of that. What's the second question? What's the second question?
The second question is like work-life balance in my mind. Like how many days you want to work. And I think that a lot of dentists are very inefficient. I mean, we do a lot of consulting post-ownership. We got a wonderful team. My work is pre-ownership. The rest of my team's post-ownership. We've got a lot of clients that are just very inefficient.
Yeah.
They're working 5 days a week. They're not even full 3 days a week. They should maybe go down to 2 days.
Sure. Yeah.
So work-life balance is a big thing. Do you want a partner? And I know that's rough in some cases, but like things like that, right? Like how many days a week do you want a partner? That's probably my big thing is like work-life balance. So
perfect.
What's that look like? And then to me, the last thing is like what kind of patients do you want to serve? I already kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
And that's important. The guy that I was literally just talking to was chasing this kind of like fee-for-service idea in his mind with the branding and the website and the architecture and the finish levels.
Yep.
You've got beautiful finish levels behind you, the finish levels. And I literally had to remind him he can still have a beautiful office. It's just you are serving the Medicaid population. In pediatric dentistry, that's not a bad move, by the way. Yeah. So like it's patients you want to serve, the community you want to serve, and what that looks like. So I think those are three really big things.
I love that. And I think you're hitting on the three big things, and you can work backwards from all of that, to get to a strategy, which that's where you and your team come into play, which is how do we come up with a plan to get us to those three things? Because if you figure out your how much money you want, it doesn't, it's not going to limit you to growing. It's just what's your target, right? What kind of work-life balance do you want? How many days do you want to work, and how is that? For some people, it's going to be 3 days a week. Some people, it's going to be 5 days a week. I mean, it just depends. And then what kind of patients do you want to see? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to either make you happy or unhappy, right? If you don't like volume, you shouldn't do Medicaid and Denti-Cal and all that kind of stuff. If you want a bougie practice, because you're in a bougie city, there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to know that and deal with all that comes with that. Okay, perfect. So let's pivot a little bit, right? Let's pivot a little bit. There's a lot of talk out there about lease strategy, okay, and location. And people say, I want 100% have, a street office, with a sign for the public to see. And some people, no, I want to be in a dental medical building. What's your take on location and lease strategy?
I love this question, Ali. I think, okay, look, I'm like old school street smart business coach. I'm not like, cutting edge of like some concepts. I take it back to common sense. And I think both of those options that you just mentioned, 150% work, it goes back to the business plan. It always goes back, in my mind, to the business plan. And you don't even have to have like this incredibly detailed business plan, but you should have in your head what the business plan is.
Right.
And when you ask me this question, both work. But here's the answer. If I'm on First and Main and I'm getting all the street traffic, all the foot traffic, I've got high visibility, I got a beautiful sign that lights up at night, I've got uplighting on the floors inside my dental office because that's sexy looking as people drive. I got all that. And what is that? That's marketing.
Right.
That's free, quote unquote, marketing, but it's not free.
Right.
Because you're paying for that marketing in your lease.
That's right.
So your lease payment is your marketing. Okay, so you're committing to that being your marketing strategy, and that definitely works. But here's the thing, you can't turn that off. You can't turn rent off. Right. Now let's flip to the other option of the guy or gal that's tucked back into a medical dental area, or maybe on 2nd and 3rd, not 1st and Main, right?
Right.
Just kind of tucked back. And so that tucked back practice might be $20,000 less a year, give or take. Ish, whatever. I'm throwing out some numbers.
Sure, yeah.
20, 30,000, shit, it could be more, right?
Right.
So what do you do with that 20, 30,000? Well, you put it into marketing to get the same exposure the guy that's doing 1st and Main. And so you put $20,000, $30,000 into marketing, which most startups aren't doing. They're not taking that extra and putting it into marketing.
Right.
But you got to. So if both startups had the plan to do $30,000 of marketing their first year, which is about what they do, let's just say. Yeah. Should do more, but that's about what folks do. So if they both had a $30,000 marketing plan, the guy or gal tucked back in 2nd and 3rd should make his or her marketing budget $50,000, right? To get the same exposure. Then once you start getting patients at that location, you get the Google reviews, you get the patient referrals, you've got like this engine rolling. Guess what? You get to peel off that $50,000 down to maybe $15,000, and you're making more money in profit.
That's right.
The 1st and Main guy doesn't get to do that. He doesn't get to do that.
No, he doesn't get to do that. And you know, we'll have a lot of clients who will say, well, they won't find me. And to me, it's like, you just need a patient to find you the first time they come.
That's right.
That's it. Because after that, they know exactly where you are. It's not like they're going to keep Googling where your office is. It's like, It's just a very first time. And that's not hard to do with mailers and other things, you know, especially these days where you just type in an address in your car and it just kind of takes you there, you know. So, yeah, that's great. I love that.
So spend $20,000 to $30,000 more and buy the exposure. Yeah. Buy it the first 2 years, make an incredible patient experience, and then it'll go wildfire. And then it doesn't matter if you're 1st and Main.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. Yeah, I love that. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. You know, we have this Ask Ali segment, you know, on our social media that we answer questions that comes in from you know, our clients. So we've got sort of a makeshift of that for you. All right, so it's going to be
here we go.
So all right, so here's a real question from a dentist that we got in anticipation of this show. So I'm going to ask it to you, and then let's get into it. So it says, it's a little bit long, but I think it's okay. It says, Ali, I recently entered into a 50-50 partnership with a dental school friend. We started a scratch practice 6 months ago, and while we agreed verbally on everything from vision to responsibilities, we didn't formalize much on paper. Now, my partner's backing out of the business due to some family obligations and wants his investment back. Okay? We never signed an operating agreement. The lease is in both of our names. I'm trying to keep the practice afloat, but now I'm on the hook for everything. And he's threatening to sue unless he's brought out immediately. What do I do? Now, obviously, there's a whole legal side to this, but from a consulting perspective, Mike, like, what should have they done? What can they do now? What do you think?
Yeah, I've got the answer. I'm going to look at the camera now. Doctor, this is a gift. This is a gift for you. Why? Here's why. Anybody that comes to me that's trying to do a startup and wants to do a partnership deal, it's going to be hard. And the reason why is not because of all the partnership nuances, because we could have a whole episode on why partnerships fail and the challenges of partnerships. And I understand the benefits. I have a partner in my business, and we're the yin and yang, and we've divided and conquered, and that's a great thing. But when you're doing a scratch start and it's already thin revenue, thin profits, It's already thin.
Yeah.
And now you got to split it into 2? It's thin divided by 2? I don't know what that math is, but it's a lot less.
Yeah.
And so this is a gift. You both went into it. You both tried to make it work. You both are grinding. And now they want out. I say just get them out as little as possible and take on this thing, because it was a good idea when you guys went into business and do the startup always. Now you get to you don't have to divide by 2. It's thin, but it's not divided by 2. And it's just really hard to do startups with a partner. Again, just yesterday, a call came in. 2 people wanted to do a startup, 50-50. What was my advice? My advice was, guys, you're both going to have to work somewhere else twice as long before you can make this business support both of you. And that's the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good perspective on it. And I agree. I mean, I think it's hard to be going through this now for this doctor. I think it's a lot of stress. You know, they've got a huge loan, and it sounds like it's a little bit of a bigger building as well, or unit. So there's a lot of stress, but I think you've got to pivot. For everyone else listening who is thinking about going down the road of a startup or doing a partnership, even if it's not with a startup, if it's an acquisition, what I would recommend is you got to plan, right? Like you got to sit down, and before you sign the lease, before you do all of this stuff, you got to sit down with me and someone like Mike to go through the partnership and the vision and all of those things and figure out what do we want. Because sometimes, just like husband and wife, right? Like when you are dating someone, you don't just get married, you sit down and you go, hey, how many kids do we want? And where do we want to live? And all this other stuff. And then if all that matches up, then you go, okay, cool, you know, let's do it, you know, but before a lot of people get married, before they ever have these conversations, and in business, man, getting a divorce in business is really tough. It's
Ugly
really,
and tough.
really tough. And I agree with Mike. I think this doctor, if you're listening, you got lucky. This is still early. You know, this is still early, and you can bounce and you know, kind of pivot from there. And if you reach out to us, we'll give you Mike's number and let him kind of walk you through things. So,
Ollie, I'll add just a little story to contextualize exactly that advice. And it was literally that same group, that same doctors. And I said, the one doctor is a little nervous about it, and the other doctor's all gung-ho.
yeah.
And the one that is squirrely about it is like, I need a contract. I need to see things in writing. And I said, you absolutely do. But first, you two need to go get some beers and literally talk about the worst things that could possibly happen and how you two would navigate that. Just 2 guys having a conversation about the worst things, and then call Ali and say, this is how we want to structure it. Because we've talked about all the things that could go wrong. Divorce, death, I don't produce the same amount he does, who's going to work the associate job longer, all that needs to be figured out. That way, when life happens, it's already figured out, and Ali's drafted it. Perfect.
Yeah. So Mike, you know, one thing that I think goes untouched and people don't really talk about, but it's a reality of, I think, being a doctor in this environment. You sometimes feel overwhelmed, right? When you're in the middle of a project or you're, stressed about practice ownership. What's your advice for someone who feels overwhelmed right now, who's listening, for staying focused and confident throughout the sort of the roller coaster that is a startup?
Dude, my advice is this. It goes back to the very first thing when we started this episode, and is not going to be easy. So get your head right. Mm-hmm. Get your head right. For some reason, I've been listening to a lot of Michael Jordan and Kobe stuff. I guess I got the algorithm going on. And if you listen to any of their stuff, Michael Jordan, Kobe, the best of the best, they all talked about grit and hard work and determination and the hours, and you're just thinking these guys have natural gifts that I never got. No, dude, those guys don't talk about the gifts. They talk about the hard grit grind.
Right.
Like, folks,
Right.
this stuff, the wealth that you could get, there's a consequence, and it's the grit and the grind. And so my message to you is get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because doing a startup and doing an acquisition, ownership, is very uncomfortable, especially a startup in the first, call it 6 months. When we're coaching our startups, my entire team, Paula, Stefani, Michael, the entire team, Abby, my executive assistant, we all know that from month 1, basically grand opening, to month 3, that's why we extended our program to 3 months after, a differentiator, not stopping at grand opening.
Yep.
We extended it to 3 months because the freak out moment of the startups is like, oh my God, I'm going to fail. I'm going bankrupt. And the answer is you absolutely are not. Know the benchmarks, know where you should be each month, and you'll be surprised in how you're doing to those benchmarks. You're not failing. You're supposed to only see 2 to 3 patients a day right now.
I love it.
And they're like, what do you mean? And it's because they're working at an associate job where they're seeing 15 patients a day.
Yeah.
And they're thinking that's what I should be. It's like, no, dude, you just started. Your 2 is like literally crushing it out of the ballpark right now. So it's just perspective. It's perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. This is the absolute gold. This is the absolute gold. Yeah, just don't give up. Just continue fighting, and just know that it's okay, and you're going to get there. It's just going to take some steps. So it's super great. I mean, this is awesome.
Too much social media of how like I crushed it and I'm a millionaire because I did a startup. Yeah, everybody knows that story. Nobody's on social media saying I'm crapping my pants right now. Like no one's talking about that.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny about that? I actually sent this to my daughter who just finished her first year in college a couple of months ago. It was this Instagram influencer, and she was talking about money and how to do all the right things. And some of the advice was good, and some of the advice was kind of like, I don't know about that. And then, like later, like we saw a post where she was going through some serious like emotional issues, like this Instagram followers. But you can't, this influencer was, but you can't see that from what they're posting, and you look at that and you're like, oh, everything's so great and they're so successful and this and that. But there's this whole other world where you just have to grind it out and you have to work hard, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to push through it and realize that it's okay to start slow, and then you'll get there like everyone else.
I can't. That is probably the biggest thing right now in this very moment. What is this? May? We're still in May 2025. Yeah. Just to put a timestamp to this episode. We've got a lot of clients that have expectations and a generation, and I'm starting to sound like the old guy, but we've got a generation of expectations of what it should be like, and an entitlement kind of mentality.
Right.
And I don't want to be doom and gloom here, but guys, it literally took grinding for myself to start next level, for Ali to start the amazing things him and his companies are doing. Ali, you grinded hard. Yeah, I grinded. It didn't just come. And this expectation of just going from zero to making a bajillion dollars, it's social media nonsense.
It is.
Nonsense.
It is. Okay, all right. So as we end, let's go through this. We're going to transition to plead the fifth. All right. Shoot. So okay. You ready for this? So I'm going to see how cool you are under pressure, Mike. All right, this is where it's going to come down. So
let me shake it out.
Exactly, yeah. Shake it out. Get the jiggles out. All right, so this is where I ask you something spicy, a little uncomfortable, hopefully.
Yeah.
And you've only got 2 options. You either answer honestly, which everyone's done so far, or you wussy out and you plead the fifth. All right. So let's see what you do. All right. Ready?
I am not below pleading the fifth. I just to say I'm not below it.
You'll be
I'm
the
not
first. You'll be the first. All right. Here's your question. If your career depended on it, would you rather partner with a doctor who is super talented, but may have a very difficult personality? Or would you rather partner with a doctor whose clinical skills may be more average, but they have a heart of gold?
1,000% the second option. I mean that's a softball. You could have. I'm not pleading the fifth on that. On that, you guys, 1,000% the heart of gold, 1,000% the average producer. Yes, I could make more money quicker with the talented one, with questionable integrity, questionable work ethic. We've got these little blocks that I have on my desk about our core values, and the first one's integrity, and I'm taking integrity 100% for so many reasons. I mean, I could go on about that.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people, I think for you, because you're a high integrity person, Mike, that's an easy question. I think for a lot of people that that is hard. That is hard question to answer, because they look at this as, to be successful, I got to go with the type A, with the shark, with whatever. I'll deal with the personality, or I'll convert them. But to your point, that's not really the right mindset. I think longevity of a partnership, really, for it to really survive and be well, whether it's a startup or an acquisition, you've got to have people with the right mindset and the right heart, to approaching it. So
well, I just think that anybody that answers number one, and let's put this in perspective, like even at next level, you're asking me now almost 10 years into next level, which is
I can't believe it's been 10 years. Jeez.
It hasn't, but I'm on the back end of that rounding up, and I can't believe that. The young Mike, the young next level may have chosen the talent. So I'm not going to take myself but the wiser, the one that's tripped and fallen a couple times, or have experienced the heartache and the icky of the first option.
Yep.
I'm telling you, the second option, if you could be wise and take my advice early on, will save you so much gray hair and losing hair and stress. Take the second option, guys. Take the second option.
Good advice. Good advice to end on. Actually, I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. Actually, I couldn't agree more. There's so many personal, examples of that, and that I could go through as well. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to learn more and connect with him directly, you can find Mike at Next Level Consultants. Be sure to check out his super popular podcast called Dental Unscripted. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. He was really the motivation for us doing this podcast as well. Mike, do you want to give your social media handles or phone number, website for people to go to make it easier?
Yeah, just NX Level Consultants is an easy place to start. My name, which you can see in the bottom here, Michael Dinsio, just Google that. And like you said, the podcast is Dental Unscripted, and it's got 5 years of content. We started it in COVID, so just Ollie's been on it 2 or 3 times. It's a great program, and reach out. We're very chill. We're not going to charge you for a consult. What you heard today is literally what the first call with you will be about, and it's really just about you and your situation. And we've got so many coaches on the team that specialize in different things. And so if you're wanting better case acceptance, Paula, take that. If you want better front office help, Stefani, take that. If you want to learn about startups and acquisitions, that's going to be my call. So I've got different assets to pull in depending on what situation you're in. So please reach out. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have all of your contact information in the show notes. So if anybody wants, you'll have all his info right there. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor and please like, comment, or subscribe to Ali Off the Record for more real talk with industry experts. All right, until next time, I'm Ali Oromchian. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.